So my father arrived in May 15th to 18th of May 1944 with his twin sister and his family, and his oldest sister and her baby, and his parents, my grandparents, went to the gas chambers, and the three other sisters went to the slave labor camp. And Mengele had taken my father and Miriam, his twin sister, off the ramp. Um, Kalman arrived around the middle of June, and he arrived with his grandfather, his mother, and his twin sister, Judith. And once again, those two were taken off the ramp to become part of the experimentation. The grandfather was sent to the gas chamber, and the mother was actually kept. And so she was put into the women's barracks with her daughter, Judith. So one morning, I believe it was June 21st of 1944, an SS officer is walking down the line, and he picks two boys out of the line. One boy is Kalman, walks a little farther down, pulls out Leopold. The two boys then follow the SS officer outside the electrified gates and inside the SS guard shack of Mengele's hospital camp. And they become the servant boys of these SS guards for 6.5 months. And what's really interesting is that they witnessed the day-to-day operations, not just the vicious, brutal beatings and how mean the guards were, etc. They could see through the French windows. They could walk outside as they were emptying the water and doing the cleaning, running errands on bicycles. So they got to see what was going on in the camp from more of a guard's perspective. They were literally standing behind guards as the guards were outside, doing these selections, and they would be over between the electrified fence and the guard shack watching everything go on. All the other Jews and prisoners were inside either the barracks being locked down, so they couldn't see any of this going on, and they never got to witness this. So that's what makes it really interesting. And if you look at, the age of these boys, you're going to see Kalman. He's a very young, he's 14 years old. He's what you call a yeshiva bocher. He's very religious, and he's doesn't know what a Nazi is. He doesn't know about the war. He doesn't know what's happening and going on. He literally was on his way home for Passover, and on March 19th, he arrived in Budapest, and this was the day that the Hungarians were occupied by Germany, and he was taken away. He was put into a detention center at a military hall, and then he was released because he was under the age of 16. He was only 14, so they weren't collecting the 14-year-olds later. They would get them later. They wanted the slave labor, and they were taking all of the older people and moving them
Right.
either to Auschwitz or to slave labor camps. So when he arrived in Auschwitz, he had no idea of what was going on. He just totally clueless, totally naive. They didn't read newspapers. They didn't listen to radios. They studied the Jewish history and the Torah, the Talmud, and so they were religious. My father, on the other hand, was 16 years old, and he was a lot more intuitive to what was going on, very streetwise. He had a job at the barrel factory earlier on. He was watching how the Hungarians, the Iron Cross, were dealing with the Jews at the time, the rising of the anti-Semitism. He was on the streets as these things were happening. So he really got an understanding of what was going on leading up to being deported and being put into the brick factory and then being taken to Auschwitz. So he'd also been in Auschwitz about a month to a month and a half earlier than Kalman. So he had a feel for the lay of the land.